Even though it's the Lone Star State, Texas was only alone for a decade after it won its revolution. But for that brief time, the Republic of Texas was a fully sovereign nation with its own military, navy, and currency. This quick flirt with nationhood has stuck with the Texan identity ever since. There's a recurring joke/theme in the US that Texas always wishes for itself to become independent once more. Whether or not this is a serious endeavor is a different tale, but what is certainly known is that this is one of the few US states that has a history of going alone. So what if Texas had remained an independent republic and never joined the United States? This is what this video will try to explore, but before I do that, I need to talk about some history. After winning its revolution against Mexico, insert shameless plug for my Texan Revolution video, Texas was left at a crossroad, either remain a lone republic or join the stronger United States. Texas was very underpopulated and had little resources to compete with its stronger neighbors. So if Texas was so unprepared to become a country, then why did it? Well, it's not like Texas had a choice. A vast majority of Anglo-Texans desired to be admitted into the Union as soon as Texas won the revolution, but the United States refused, and the debate inside Washington went on for a decade. The lines for the eventual Civil War were already being drawn, the North and South ever growing further apart, and the politics reflected that. There was a delicate balance between North and Southern control of Congress, and both sides wished to tip the scale in their favor. A majority of Texans were descendants or migrated from the Southern states. Slavery was practiced, and so bringing in that as a new state into the Union would have upset the balance. Annexing Texas would bring on a war with Mexico, who refused to recognize Texan independence, which did happen in our timeline, leading to the Mexican-American War. Inside the new Texas Republic, there is a divide between pro-Americans led by Sam Houston and nationalists bent on an independent Texan empire led by Marabou Lamar. Sam Houston aimed for annexation, but in opposition, Lamar, who eventually became president, refused to join another country and wished for Texas to take the West and Indian land for itself, even claiming California. So Texas's destiny was a complex issue at the time, and its political status affected the entire continent. Eventually, with the election of expansionist James K. Polk, the United States was ready to annex Texas, even if it was to be a slave state. Inside Texas, public opinion was strongly in favor of joining the Union, and so the resolution passed in both countries. The small republic came to an end and transferred power to the United States. Doing so, disputed Texan land with Mexico became an American issue, especially in the Rio Grande region. This dispute sparked the Mexican-American War, nearly cutting Mexico in half and creating most of the borders for the lower continental US. So what if Texas remained independent? This could be for multiple different reasons. What could such possible alternate scenarios look like? In the election of 1844, the leading issue was whether to admit Texas into the Union. It wasn't a simple debate, it was a major issue at the time. Anti-annexation Henry Clay wished to keep the balance between North and South, while hardline Democrat James Polk wanted to expand American territory. In this alternate timeline, Clay wins the election instead of Polk, and Texas remains independent for at least 4 more years, basically kicking the issue down the line. Polk won the election by the slimmest of margins, and history would have been much different if he lost. This is just one possibility. Another scenario is Texas simply doesn't join the Union. This could be because of American fear of war with Mexico, which is unlikely, or Texas nationalists continue to hold power and refuse to join the United States. In our timeline, this actually happened under Lamar's government. Texas refused a treaty to join the US. A sizable portion of the Texan government wished to expand the republic across to the Pacific, even after warnings from Sam Houston himself. In this alternate timeline, the nationalists keep power in Texas, and it simply does not negotiate. If this happened, it's very doubtful the Texan Republic would have survived at all. Texas was never meant to be an independent nation. It was too underpopulated and largely rural, even though today Texas has a booming economy comparable to Australia. In 1844, it was purely agricultural. Sam Houston was voted in as the first president of Texas, and throughout his political career, his goal was for Texas to join the Union. The idea of a country was certainly not one to last. In this alternate timeline, if the Republic of Texas was controlled by nationalists, It would either collapse under its own debt, become absorbed by the US or Mexico, or be a weak country, surrounded by two powers. In this alternate timeline, very few European nations wish for official diplomacy with Texas. France, Belgium, and the Netherlands all open embassies. Britain, like in our timeline, trades with Texas, but does not officially recognize it as a nation, fearing to hurt ties with Mexico. Texas exists in the international community in awkward limbo, recognized by few and overshadowed by its larger neighbor in the United States. Now, in one scenario, this could lead to some potential interesting consequences. The American Civil War was inevitable. If such a war still occurred in this alternate timeline, an independent Texas would be left to stay neutral or join the Confederacy. Since it had such cultural and economic ties to the South, Texas would be very interested in the outcome of the war. So much so, in this alternate timeline, it's possible Texas could have joined the CSA. By doing so, Mexico could declare war on the Confederates, who would have taken Mexican land in the eyes of the Mexicans, and the CSA would have to fight a two-front war against the US and Mexico. This is just one possibility, though. What can be generally assumed is if the Republic of Texas did remain independent, it wouldn't have lasted much longer in this alternate timeline. It simply did not have the resources or aid to continue on as a nation. Resources like oil wouldn't be discovered for at least a few decades, and by then the debt and foreign influence would have been too much to bear. Texas would have been absorbed by its neighbors by force eventually. This topic was suggested by Patreon contributor Sam. Thanks, Sam, for your contribution and topic. This is just one of many scenarios, though. What do you think would have happened if Texas remained independent? Say in the comments, like on Facebook, and subscribe if you have not done so. This is Cody from the Alternate History Hub.